What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. So I want to discuss an experiment that I ran 9 months ago and documented, and it was of me taking Oxiracetam every day for 20 straight days. If you'd like access to a powerful nootropic stack that pretty much turns on every facet of brain function, courses that teach you how to use nootropics in a way which saves you time, money, and gets you far better results than you're getting now, or you'd like to work with me at some capacity, pay attention to the following. Number one, the Cortex Nootropic Stack. 7 years on the market. I mean, the market speaks, 70,000 bottles sold, 94% satisfaction rate, mental energy, verbal fluency, motivation, the drive to work in a capsule. Get Cortex at livecortex.com. Courses, look, if you're new to nootropics, there is a course that I created that is literally tailored for you. Stop wasting time. Stop getting inconsistent results and just get Nootropics Ground Zero. That is what that course is for. It is awesome and long and very stack written. If you're in a year or so, or maybe even 6 months or a few years, but you want to ascend to the 6-year mark, defined as getting different results, better results, having more consistent stacks, being able to induce states on cue, get Nootropics Masterclass. If you want to ascend to the highest level of using nootropics, this is where people like me are at and very other few people on the planet are at. You just get far better results. You learn how to cycle better. You learn how to induce states on cue better. Get the Nootropics God course. Last thing, if you'd like to work with me and you want me to formulate your stacks, we have a couple different programs. One of them is a 4-month program. The other is a 6-month program. Now, these are dedicated one-on-one programs where I formulate your stacks, monitor them, adjust them, get you on schedules, etc. You can do those at livecortex.com if that is what you need. We also have Ryan on Call, which is where we don't formulate the stacks for you. I can help you formulate stacks and give you suggestions and give you advice, but really it's me on call. It's a cheaper way to get my advice and consulting without going for a dedicated program. It's called Ryan on Call, and you can get that at livecortex.com. Okay. So let's talk about my Oxiracetam experiment. So let me just give you a quick preface. Never should you really take a singular stack every day, right? I see this often in the forums, like, today even just a guy in Nootropics 2.0 was like, I'm new to nootropics and I am looking for a memory stack. This is what I've come up with. Then he listed like, Paracetam, alpha GPC, some of the regular compounds that we discuss. But he's coming at it from the perspective of wanting to take that stack for memory every day, which usually ends up failing, right? Because the brain needs to be switching between nootropics, even if they're of the same type, like switching between racetams at the very least if you're taking cholinergics consistently, but ideally switching between choline one day, dopamine system another day, perhaps serotonin another day, non-neurotransmitter modifying nootropics that reduce oxidative stress another day, then switching back to cholinergics. Okay, that's the preface. But nonetheless, I ran this experiment and I want to give you the details on what happened. Now, again, this was 9 months ago. This was just something I wanted to do as an experiment to have content to write about and also to sort of illustrate some of the points that we discuss on this channel. So the stack. This was the stack. It was 600 milligrams of Oxiracetam, 50 milligrams citicoline. That is it. That's all the stack was. Now, my daily at the time, so my daily regimen, my supplement regimen was a B complex. This is all in the morning. 500 milligrams of quercetin, 500 milligrams of NAC, 25 milligrams zinc, 100 milligrams of CoQ10, and then 2 gel tabs of an Antarctic krill oil supplement. That was my daily regimen, right? And I still have a daily regimen. It's pretty much that. I've added a few things since then, just to give you an idea of some of the variables. My diet at the time wasn't great, wasn't terrible. I was eating eggs, bacon, hash browns in the morning for breakfast, probably like a turkey sandwich or something for lunch, and then at night it would usually be like beef or salmon and a sweet potato. That was my diet, then. So let me get to the effects, okay? So days 1 through 7 of taking 600 milligrams of Oxiracetam and 50 milligrams of citicoline were pretty good, okay? Oxiracetam tends to just give me better focus on top of my baseline, so I stay engaged in stuff longer. Like I can stay engaged without getting distracted or without wanting to stop because I'm running into like cognitive fatigue or something, right? So it helps me focus more. So that was pretty consistent. Oxiracetam also improves my working memory. It puts me in a place where just on the day-to-day stuff over the course of a 16-hour waking period, I'm engaged in 20 to 25 things, maybe more, maybe less, right? Somewhere in that range. And so while doing that, my working memory has to function pretty well. So it was in the first 7 days, days 1 through 7. And also, right after I took the stack, there was that acute, noticeable energy and stimulation that you typically feel administering nootropic stacks when they kick in, and you've transitioned from your baseline state to like the state where the nootropic is affecting you. So days 1 through, and that was pretty much it. Days 1 through 7 were pretty good. Days 8 through 15 is when the effects started to fall off. And this is usually what happens, which is again why every bit of our content, the Nootropics courses, are all tailored toward having you switch between different stacks and formulating them intelligently so that you can get consistent results. So days 8 through 15, the effects fell off about 50%. 50%. So the acute stimulation after taking the stack was 50% reduced. My focus throughout the course of the day was 50% reduced. On top of that, 100% in the first 1 to 7 days. My working memory was 50% reduced. Still a better above baseline, however, and these are important points for folks to understand, but again, reduced from the initial effect of the stack. And yeah, it felt like, looking back at my notes, like the stack did not last as long, which is really interesting. Now, citicoline has a long half-life, oxiracetam does not. You're talking about 2 to 5 hours, 5 hours max for most folks. But it got to the point around days 8 to 15 where I was really only noticing effect from it at like the 2 to 3 hour mark, after which it would just fall off completely. So that's days 8 through 15. By day 20, and days 16, 17, 18, 19 were pretty similar to day 20, I could discern no noticeable benefit, okay? So by day 20 of taking oxiracetam daily, I could discern no noticeable benefit. Now, it doesn't mean oxiracetam wasn't affecting me positively, because I'm going to get to that, because then I took day 20 to 25 and just did not take the stack, took my daily and just tried to measure what my brain performance was at that time. But by day 20, I wasn't noticing really an onset of energy. It wasn't anything to write home about. Like, my focus and working memory just really did not seem to be anything differentiated from my typical baseline, which my baseline is good because I'm always focusing on optimizing baseline. So that's where I was by day 20. So when the stack was essentially dead in the water, pretty close to being dead in the water, and I'll get to that. So that's an important point also in why you shouldn't consistently take or rely on one singular stack, to get you the brain performance you need, which is again why you've got to, in a cyclical strategy, be taking different stacks throughout the course of a 20 or 30 day period that are hitting different things. So days 20 to 25. Now this is when I stopped taking the stack. So I stopped taking the stack day 21. Okay, so now days 21 through 25. I measured for basically 4 days, right? And just like paid attention to my brain function and wrote things down. I did not take the stack, right? I only took it for 20 straight days, and I didn't take the stack. Now what I noticed, which was very interesting, was that I did have perhaps a slight deficit in compared to the 20 days in get up and go energy and focus and working memory. Now it wasn't anything major because my baseline is pretty awesome, but I noticed that even though the acute effects, like me noticing the stack, went away basically at day 15, when I removed the oxiracetam, I noticed a bit of a deficit compared to that in terms of get up and go energy and focus and working memory, but nothing really major, okay? So what does this tell us? What does this experiment tell us? Well, first of all, there is something to say about continuous effects of taking the same stack, not necessarily discernible effects, because I couldn't really discern after day 15 like there was effects or not. So there is something to say about that, but obviously the acute onset, that effect that you notice your stack right away, was just not registering after day 15. Like I basically felt like I didn't take a stack, from then onward, right? But again, after removing the stack, the oxiracetam and the citicoline, I noticed, compared to the days that I was taking the stack, my brain may have not been as sharp, right? I didn't have as much get up and go energy. And, I didn't have as much focus, as much working memory. All these things are usually good, but again, the oxiracetam actually did make a difference. Now, this isn't a case to take oxiracetam daily or any nootropic stack and rely solely on it. That's not what I'm trying to sell you here. I'm actually trying to sell you on the fact that, again, after days 1 through 7, basically day 8, the effects fell off 50%, right? And then by day 16 through 20, there was no discernible effects. That's the point that I'm trying to make for you folks. So this is why, not that I'm saying the experiment wasn't awesome and it was cool. I love oxiracetam, it's a great compound, but on my regular schedule, oxiracetam may be in the mix twice a week. Cholinergic on Monday, cholinergic on Thursday, other cholinergics with the oxiracetam, potentially different choline sources, certainly different synergistic additional components like teacrine one day, dynamine the other. But I'm not taking oxiracetam a lot. There'll be times where I slept like crap and my brain is just not firing at all and it needs to be, in which case oxiracetam is usually a good rescue strategy. But it is by no means it's not an effective use case to be using it every day. It just isn't. And I've been preaching that for many years because in the first 3-4 years of me using nootropics, look, I would get results one day, and then I'd have inconsistent results the next day. Like a stack would be hitting, and then suddenly it'd fall off the face of the earth. I'd have good brain function, and then suddenly not. And I was always like, what is going on? I first learned to control my dietary variables, which really, really matter. But secondly, I realized I had to cycle, right? Learning more about neurotransmitter function. I think what the biggest differentiator between folks that get really good results with nootropics and not get consistent results is somewhat of an understanding, not particularly advanced, of receptor site function and homeostasis and regulatory mechanisms of the brain. In that, if you take the same stack consistently, your brain is almost guaranteed to desensitize the response. Okay? What's the moral of the story? Switch between systems. Take your oxiracetam stack on Monday, totally fine. Tuesday, take a modafinil-centered stack, maybe with some teacrine and some L-theanine. Wednesday, take some ALA, take some vinpocetine, maybe take some Alcar, maybe take some NAC. You're focusing on improving brain function in an indirect way, not necessarily surging neurotransmitter function or quantity. Thursday, fine, go back to a cholinergic, but take a different cholinergic. All right, instead of oxiracetam, maybe shoot for aniracetam and alpha GPC and like dynamine or something just to give you that extra stimulation. And then throw in some coliracetam for better choline synthesis. And then Friday, ultimately whatever stack you want to do, so long as it's not equal to the cholinergic that you took on Thursday. Cycle off on the weekends. The next week ultimately should be different stacks, but you can get away with them being the same stacks just as long as they're differentiated from one another throughout the course of the 5-day period. Okay, hope that makes sense. That is just one sort of glimmer on the top of the river of the robustness of the nootropics methodology that I created, figuring out, look, I want to take these things for as long as I'm alive. Because I need the productivity, I need the brain function, I need the focus, I need the memory. It benefits me so much in a variety of ways. Nootropics have absolutely changed my life, but I can't take the same stack every day. At the 3 or 4 year mark, I've learned this, and that's when I started differentiating between stacks. That's when I created the beginnings of nootropics usage methodology, which became the content for Nootropics Ground Zero, Nootropics Masterclass, and Nootropics God Course. Now, I want to say one last thing. A lot of folks think, and I've seen it because I've got people who have watched the channel for like 6 months to a year, right? And they've heard me talk about this and discuss all these things and think that they're the exception. And then they come to me and go, hey, Ryan, I take this stack every day. It's fallen off. I'm like, have you watched Ground Zero? Have you watched Masterclass? Have you watched God Course? Nope. No, I just thought I could take it. I just wanted something simple. you guys have to listen to the stuff that I'm saying. Okay, switch between systems, do yourself a favor and get some of those courses. Number one, ground zero. If you're brand new to nootropics, you got to get that course. Okay, you just have to have that framework moving into the rest of your nootropics usage to really fully understand how to use them the correct way. If you're in a couple years or even a year but want to ascend to the 6-year mark and get better results, get the Nootropics Masterclass. That is what that video course is for. More advanced, the stacks are more complex, they're more heavy hitting, the principles are more advanced. The highest level of using nootropics is the Nootropics God course. Cortex Nootropic stack, if you just want a singular stack that's very effective, again, you should cycle between, but it's very, very potent. Mental energy, motivation, verbal fluency, by the Cortex Nootropic stack at livecortex.com. Lastly, again, new consulting option, Ryan on call. Okay, so if you don't want to work with me in a dedicated manner, so if you don't want a dedicated 4-month or 6-month program where I formulate your regimens and track them, where we do all the tracking, all the adjustment, all the formulation, and you want to do the tracking and you want to do the document generation and you want to sort of deal with all of the nuanced factors of it, work with me on an on-call capacity. It's called Ryan on call. So you basically have me throughout the course of a 30-day period at your beck and call for questions. If you need to ask me something about a stack, if you're confused about why your stacks aren't hitting, if they need a little bit of an overhaul, my suggestions on how to change them, how to change doses, what to change specifically, how to add more nootropic stacks into your regimen, and hosts of other things that are relative to this. It's basically kind of like having me on retainer. You need something, you hit me up, we figure it out. Ryan on call, livecortex.com. It is under the consulting tab on the menu. If you need chemistry repaired or you need us to formulate your stacks for you and then adjust them for you, perfect them for you, and set you on a schedule, all done for you. And you basically just take the stuff every day and get good, consistent brain performance. Those are what the dedicated programs are for. 4 months and 6 months, those are also at the consulting tab at livecortex.com. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Talk to you next time.
Have you ever wanted to feel what it feels like to use all of your brain? To fire on all cylinders, have access to your deepest performance potential, and to tap into the reservoir of pure mental capacity? Well, I've cracked the code to being able to access your full brain. My name is Ryan Michael Ballo, and I am the pioneer of society's modern use of what are called nootropics, brain performance enhancers that trigger neurotransmitter systems to function at peak capacity. But the mere use of nootropics, I found, isn't quite enough. You see, most people are using nootropics entirely in the wrong way, not maximizing potential and yielding the best effects. So I've spent the greater part of the last 15 years studying neuroscience and formulating what is called nootropics usage methodology, a wide collection of highly advanced principles that allow you to unlock your true brain performance potential using nootropics. I dug deep into the core of neurobiology and pharmacology of nootropics to create methods of usage that keep your nootropic stacks hitting hard, staying consistent, and continuously delivering high-performance brain states. And that is what I bring to the table. I have consulted some of the biggest names in business, ranging from entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley to famous actors to business owners and professionals in every vertical, in every industry. What my expertise is in applying the methodology I invented in targeting neurotransmitter and brain function systems to fire on all cylinders, creating highly targeted, custom-tailored nootropic formulations for high-performance business people, entrepreneurs, and elite achievers. I will formulate your heavy-hitting, sustainable, tailored nootropic stacks targeted toward your brain. I will manage your schedule of dosing, and I will ensure through detailed micro-adjustments and continued support that your brain is performing at peak capacity so that you can focus on the bread and butter of your business and your life. Leave it all up to me, and let's get started on your journey in supercharging mental performance.